Hi guys, and welcome to tonight's live stream. If you can hear me okay, please do let me know in the comments there. And what I'm going to do today is, well, a number of things. I've been on YouTube for 6 years now. Tuesday gone was my 6-year anniversary. I can't quite believe it actually. It seems to have flown by, and I think the reason for that is because I now seem to be so busy I've not got time to register the time, if you know what I mean. It's just flown by in no time at all. So I want to talk about a bit about YouTube and what it means, and you know, am I a millionaire? I'll soon put paid to that rumour. And then I want to talk about fly tying, fly fishing, and a little bit towards the end about competition fishing and where we're at on the scheme of things. So what I thought we would do first of all is I've been doing quite a lot of tying the last few weeks, and I've been tying from my own boxes. Now, a lot of people must think I've got boxes and boxes of flies, but what I've actually got is tubs of the odd fly here and there, and I don't really have any flies to go fishing with. I tend to give them out quite a lot, and suddenly I look into my boxes and I'm thinking, Christ, I've got no flies to fish with, especially when I'm doing the little competitions here and there. So I've been tying a lot. I've got several projects on the go. I think at the minute I've got a little box of buzzers that I'm working away at here. But I get bored really easily, so I'll tie maybe 5 buzzers and then I'll need to move on to something else. And I've got a trip planned later in the year, if I can just grab this from under all the other stuff. I'm off to Bosnia to do a bit of river fishing, and I've started tying up flies for that. So I kind of mix and match. I've done a few for the still waters, but what I need to do is prioritise my tying. I need to get the reservoir stuff up and running, because it will not be long before I am in a competition with no flies. So I've been tying a lot of that, and I'm going to do a couple tonight that I've been working away at. I'll just have a quick read of the comments. Hi Mike, hi Robert, David, Matthew, Adam, hope you're well. Archie, thanks very much for tuning in. I really appreciate it, guys. I'm trying to do everything at once, so it might be a hard gig. So I'll let you have a wee look at what we've got in the vise. So this is a fly that does really well early season for me, and I think the reason for that is fishing's changed. It really has changed. The last 10 years, I've noticed that the fish are a lot higher in the water column than they ever used to be. They're now, you can catch them 4 or 5 feet down, and the buzzer seems to be coming earlier year on year. So what this fly does for me is it kind of covers quite a lot of different options. I'll just get another hook in the vise. And how's the sound quality, guys? Is it okay? I should be getting better at this, but I always get very nervous that the picture's no good or the sound's no good, and I end up making a mess of it. But hopefully you can hear me fine, and I think you can certainly see the fly in the vise. Thanks, Chris. That's excellent. Just before I start, I'm just going to have a wee swig of beer, and then we'll make start to this cruncher pattern. If you've got them, drink them. Right, so the hook I've got in the vise here is a Hanak 230 barbless hook. It's size 12. It's on a medium wire, and it's finished in black nickel. Now, I don't want this live stream to turn into a fly tying tutorial. What I want to do is talk about YouTube and fly tying, fly fishing, the state of the nation, really, I suppose. So the YouTube, I started 6 years ago, and when I started, I was heavily inspired by Davey McPhail. I used to watch, I still watch all these videos, but Davey, to me, is the king of fly tying on YouTube. It's just his manner, the way he delivers the information is just second to none. He's a top bloke. And so when I was ready to sort of start my own YouTube channel, I knew I wasn't even 10% of the tyre of Davy McPhail or many of the other tyres that are out there. But what I did have was a wealth of experience on the competition circuit, as well as what flies actually catch fish. Now, as I've been on YouTube, my fly tying's got more technical as I've gone along, but I certainly see a difference between tying flies that I'm going to take a photograph with and post on social media and the kind of flies that I tie for competition. So just while I'm blethering on here, I'm going to make a start to this fly. We'll never get any flies tied. So I'm just adding a bit of brand new super glue brush. Do you like that? Yeah, I went out and bought that special for today. I've been using varnish for a while and it's not quite the same. So I'm just going to use my thread to spread that super glue, and I'll get a bed of thread down. So how does YouTube work? For those of you that are unaware of the background shop, if you like, of YouTube, before you can get monetized, you've got to have at least 1,000 subscribers. And once you've got 1,000 subscribers, I think when I done it, it's changed slightly. I think it's got slightly easier, but you had to have something like 5,000 or 10,000 watch hours, something like that, before they could monetize you. And then when you get monetized, you get all excited because you think, oh, I'm monetized. But on average, my videos were making like 3 pence, 5 pence, because, you know, hardly anyone was watching them. So, and it takes a long time to build up a channel where, I mean, I've got over 1,000 videos on the channel now, and they get looked at quite a bit. So I do okay, but as my wife keeps pointing out, I do a tax return because I do earn money from YouTube. But as my wife keeps pointing out, who's my accountant and tax returner, that it's costing me around £7,000 a year to make videos. And I keep trying to say to her, well, remember when I used to do all that competition fishing and, you know, try and get in the England team and go away for weekends and stuff? That cost probably just as much, if not more. So I think I'm getting more pleasure out of this than I ever did for trying to get into the England teams. I'll just keep going with this fly while we're blathering. Now what I'm going to use for the tail, it's going to be, I think you've seen the original fly was like a pheasant tail body, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a cock hackle. It's not a particularly good one, this actually. I could have done better with my choice. But the reason I do this, and if you followed the channel and you watch my fly tying, you'll sound like that. I do this a lot. So pheasant tails are really brittle fibre, and if you tie up a fly such as this with pheasant tail in at the tail, it looks really nice, but the first 2 fish that takes your fly, your pheasant tail is going to snap away from the body, and what you end up with is a fly more akin to a buzzer than a cruncher. So we'll just get that tail in place there. I'll take away the excess. So yeah, I think you've got to, unless you're Mr. Beast or you're making a lot of videos and high-end value. Now, I know quite a lot about YouTube now because I've been doing it for so long, and if I had my time over, if making money was my goal, I'd have got into something like film critique or cameras, or, you know, tech reviews are really popular, but fly tying, it's quite a small niche, but and so is fly fishing. If I'm honest, fly fishing's a very small niche. It's not that popular, I'm sad to say, but it's my passion. It's what I love to do, and I know quite a lot about it, whereas I'd have to really work hard to learn about these other things. But I am where I am with it, I suppose, and it only ever started off as I thought I would share a few of the competition secret flies, if you like. That was the whole idea of starting the channel up, because the other thing I'm a great believer of is it doesn't matter. You know, if I'm sitting in a boat with you in a competition, I would give you the flies I've got because I'm fairly happy that I'll be able to fish them just as well, if not better than you. So that's just the bottom line. Whereas some people are a bit secret squirrel about their competition flies. It doesn't bother me at all. So if ever you're in a boat with me in one of the AMFCs, please do ask what I'm using. I will happily tell you. And as long as it's not, as long as you're not turning me inside out, I'll give you a couple of flies. So next thing I'm going to do then, I've added in a silver rib there. I'm going to add this few strands of pheasant tail. Got a nice feather here, it's been dyed black. I've got a better one, but I couldn't find that today. So I've not been getting any fishing done at all recently. I think my last sort of day out was Farmoor. I went to Farmoor to fish the bank just after the Farmoor bash and had a great time. There's a few of the boys that had fished the competition the weekend before Mark Miles's competition, and they were there as well trying to work out where it had all gone wrong for them. But it was a really good day. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I got quite a nice video out of it, and caught a few lovely fish. I had a cracking brownie, about £4 that I was well pleased with. I keep promising Cameron that I'll go to Albury Estates, and I did carve out some time this week to make a visit to Albury. Albury's a small stillwater nestled in the Surrey Hills. It's an absolutely beautiful fishery. But this week in Surrey, I don't know where you all are in the country, but this week in Surrey, it's been absolutely shocking. We had a nice day today, but generally speaking, the weather's been very poor, and it doesn't make me want to rush outside and do a whole lot of fishing. I suppose the good thing about that is I have managed to top up a few boxes. Now, once I've finished tying this fly, what I'll do is I'll have a check of the comments, and if we have any questions, please do ask about YouTube, fly fishing, fly tying, whatever you like. Sport, except Scotland, England rugby. I don't want to hear anything about that. But, yeah, happy to answer any questions. Have you managed to get out yourselves? Anyone managed to get some fishing in? What I'm going to be using here is it's from the Fly Tying Den. They're called Cheeks, and it's a great. It's like a hot cheek that you can apply on. It's like similar. I suppose it's artificial goose bite. It's as close a description as you'll find. I think I'm going to get another one off just in case I've not got enough there. So I'm going to tie it in with the colour face down. I'll tell you what I've been doing. Obviously I watch quite a lot of YouTube myself, and I've been following quite closely Herd Croston's videos with Fooling Mill. They did a video on the World Championships, and it was a real down-to-earth, honest sort of video where they're not dressing the whole thing up. It tells about the hard work and the dedication that's needed to compete at that level, and I just found that really interesting. So I'm just taking 2 strands of dyed black peacock herring. I think, no, I'm not sure actually, but I do think I might have put this on the channel, this fly. So I don't know what I would have called it, just, I don't know, some kind of cruncher, I suppose. But it's one of these things that I'd started tying probably for a YouTube video, and I thought, you know what, I really like the look of them, I'll give them a go, and they ended up being winners. So Now before I bring the peacock herald round, I'm just going to get a touch of super glue onto that bump of thread I've made. And all this does is it secures the herald. If you don't do this, I'm sure it would be fine, but once fish start hitting the fly, you want to have as much longevity as you can, really. There's when you fish a while, and I'm sure everyone's the same, I've never met an angler that isn't superstitious or trying to overthink fishing. And we're all guilty of it. I still do it. And you know, when you're fishing with a fly and suddenly it gets trashed, and then you don't get a fish for like 5 or 10 minutes afterwards because you've changed to exactly the same fly more or less, but you've stopped catching, and suddenly it gets in your head, and you end up second guessing your choices. So I pulled that one on my side forward. I'm going to bring the one on your side forward a bit, couple of turns. I'll just check, make sure it's sitting how I want it, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back away from the eye of the hook, and I'm really putting pressure on the thread now, and I'm going to spin the cheeks. I'll just put that to the side because when I'm off camera I'll be able to really grind out another couple of flies with these bits off. I don't call them waste, they're just bits that will be used later. Good stuff, and you can see, can you see? Let me get the UV torch. So if I shine this on, I don't know how well you'll see, but it really lights up under the UV light, which is ideal for what I want. Now I'm going to put a front hackle on, and it's a hen cape that I've got here. Well, it's what's left of a hen cape. I have ordered a new black hen cape from America. As you can see, it's yet to arrive, so I'm on the last few bits and bobs of this. Now what I'm going to do is just strip. I'm just stripping away the feathers that I'm not going to need. And I'm going to catch the tip with my hackle pliers and pull that back. So I've got like a Christmas tree effect here, or I will have when I've finished stroking it back. Let me just have a look. Yeah. So I'm just cutting off the tip of the feather, and I'm going to come in and just bring my thread over. Now, when I conceived this video, if you like, what I thought I would do is I would just sit down and tie flies from my own boxes, but I kind of realised that that would be quite boring if I was sitting knocking out 20 of these and just waffling all night. So I am going to change it up a bit and do other flies. Now, what was I doing? Yeah. So I've secured it in. I'm going to grab my hackle pliers. I'll bring it round. Now on the first turn, I'm going to use my thumb and forefinger just to sweep everything back. And what I want is at least 2 turns. And then I'm going to bring my thread around, and I'm going to work it through the fibres. Now I can just about see the eye of the hook. Now the other thing about tying on YouTube is I've got this massive big ring light that's just in front of the camera and right in my eyes. So sometimes it can be quite difficult to just get it just right. So now I've secured that with a few wraps, I'm keeping tension on my thread here. I'm going to pull that away. And then I can come in and tidy up. I've I've only got another 4 or 5 of these to tie actually, but I will move on. So, any aspiring YouTubers out there, what advice would I have for you? The first bit of advice I would have for anyone that wants to get into YouTube, and there's some very skilled tiers out there, is just start. Just start, use your mobile phone, use whatever you've got at hand to make a start. And regardless of how good your work is, expect disappointment for at least 2 years. That's just the bottom line. You know, I think other than Brian Smith, I don't know if any of you know Brian Smith, he's an American tire who's garnered a huge success in a very short time. But there's a number of reasons for that, and well, the number one being he's a very talented fly tire. But number two, he hit TicToc at the right time, grew a massive audience, and then he went on to other platforms and he kind of brought most of that audience with him, so fair play to him. But other than him, everybody else that didn't get in at the basement level, like Davey McPhail or the Feather Bender, you're gonna struggle. I struggle. I'm still struggling. So be prepared for disappointment. You know, you're not going to tie 5 or 6 flies or make 5 or 6 videos and suddenly have a huge YouTube following making thousands of pounds a month. That's just not going to happen. It's fly tying. There's a lot of people doing it as well, and there's a lot of really good people doing it. So you've got a lot of competition for people's attention, which is very short nowadays. Hence, I've sort of moved on to short form content, and which I don't enjoy myself. I don't find I watch a lot of short form videos. I like Davey McPhail's explanation of what he's doing, or Barry or Clark or whoever. You know, I like it because I just learn better when it's been explained very slowly. That must be me being just a bit thick. But let's have a wee look through the comments and we'll see where we're at. Matthew, best of luck getting your children involved. I tried to press gang my children into fly fishing very early, and sadly I ruined their appetite for it. They're now with their mother and hate it. So, you know, good luck with that. The old saying goes, use one to lose and one to give away is a good motto. Yeah. Sound is fine. Thanks very much, Neely. I'm trying that with my 3 girls, but it's not easy as there aren't many lady anglers. Well, actually, it's you'd be surprised, Eddie, that I think there's a lot more in America, but we certainly have a few, but I think most of them are sort of more inclined to go salmon fishing, the sort of high end of fly fishing, if you like. I'm trying that. Yeah. I have a competition this weekend on a small water near me. Have you got any tips for someone who hasn't really entered many competitions? Matthew, I could tell you a whole bunch of stuff, but the thing to do is make sure that you enjoy it. You know, you're doing this hopefully for fun. I don't know if it's a big cash prize or whatever, but I mean, I started out, I was doing it because the army supported competition fishing, and they would give you time off, and they would pay a bit of money towards the fishing. So that's kind of how I started out with it. And the competitions I enter now, I do it because I really enjoy it. There's a community of people, especially in the winter. The grayling competitions is what I really love now, because I think that community, and it's the same guys that go to the three or four different grayling competitions there are, and it's just like a bit of a community chat, really. And I don't think anyone takes them that seriously. I mean, obviously there's prizes and there's trophies and whatnot, but I just go because I like the crack and I enjoy the company of people that like being up to their chest in water. muddy water mostly. Okay, let's see. 25% tax now on American hen cape. Paul, I ordered that about 6 weeks ago before Trump got his way, so I might be alright. I don't believe it's that popular due to the carp fishing being the most popular fishing sport available today. Bivvy cities everywhere. I know what you mean, Adam. But it's access, isn't it? I mean, there's about 6 carp ponds round where I live, and if you want to get kids into fishing, then that's an easier access route, I suppose. Whereas fly fishing round this neck of the woods, very difficult. It's very difficult, especially if you're wanting to introduce your children to river fishing. Unless you know someone or you're a member of a club, it is difficult to get permission to get on these rivers. I've uploaded a few tying vids on here and the results have been a wee bit below par. Chris, you've got to keep going. That's the thing. You've got to be thick-skinned. And kind of, I've always been a bit thick-skinned anyway, but if you keep going, and I kind of said to myself, and I said to a few of my friends when I was starting, I'm going to do 2 fly tying videos a week. And they were all going, "You're nuts." I said, well, how hard can it be? You sit in front of the vise, you're tying flies anyway, switch the camera on, and away you go, and you've got a fly tying video. And that's pretty much what I do now. You know, it's and what I did then. I didn't do a whole lot of editing. I didn't do any fancy transitions or anything. I've obviously improved the equipment I'm using. But other than that, I was just consistent. Twice a week, I would churn out fly tying videos, and I think I did that for about 2 years before someone, I haven't got a name, or I would blame them for this, said, "Oh, why don't you take me on a day's fishing? I'd like to see what you do when you go fishing." And I think the first place I went was the River Avon at Amesbury, and I made a video, and it was pretty piss poor, if I'm honest, looking back on it. But it did make me start thinking, well, if I can show people how to tie flies, perhaps I can show them some tips and hints on how to fish better, and that might help people out. So I started thinking more about that, but what comes with that is a whole ream of equipment. And then once you've got that, and you start learning how to put a story together and how to sort of structure a lesson, if you like, for want of a better word, you can get that message across. So a lot of the videos I do now in regards to fishing, it's about helping people learn new techniques or just catch more fish. But Chris, don't give up. Keep going at it, and you just got to be consistent. 2 videos a week, and a man that ties as much as you, that's nothing at all. Just been started fly tying and would like to know if you had any recommendations on good trout flies to start with, maybe Euronymphs or buzzers. Intriguum, sorry, I can't even pronounce that. I start with simple. Simple's best, and simple's works. So if you speak to any sort of competition guy that does a lot of competition fishing, they'll tell you there's a few essential things. The fly's got to be really quick to tie, and you don't want to be crying into your pillow at night because you've lost it, or it's snapped, or it's on the bottom of the river. Start with something really simple that'll only take you a few minutes of time to tie. Something like a good fly to start with is a cat's whisker, and that's always really good. It'll catch your fish, and it's easy to tie. I hope that answers your question, pal. Could you tie a muskins, please, Lindsay, as I'm struggling to find a good YouTube video? Adam, I have done a video on the muskins, and you can look that up after this, but I have got a few sort of flies planned, and just give me a second here. I was asked, see, if you'd asked me on the Facebook post, I would have had all the materials ready. But Matthew Cooper asked me to tie one of these. So this is quite a famous fly. It's the black pennel. And it's one of the first flies I learned to tie actually. And this is quite a simple fly. I've got to be honest though, I just don't have it in my box anymore. You know, a lot of these old gold patterns like Vivas and black pennels, I just don't have them. So I'm going to tie this for you now. And what I've tried to do is keep my life a bit simple by using the same hook. So again, I'm going to be using the Hanak 230 at size 12. Just get that in the vise. Ooh, split the screen again. Right, sorry, I'm doing my best to try and keep up with the comments. If you ever get down to my state, PA, I will take you to my hotspot for some friendly competition. Or computation, is that? That's very kind, Robert, but once you've shown me your hotspot, the world will know. Let me have a wee shifty. Alexander Campbell, getting ripped in the army sets. You up nice for being thick-skinned. You're not wrong, Alex. It's a tough gig, the army at times, but good fun. Any plans to do some more link-ups? Love the banter between you and Reese. I was speaking to Reese the other day actually, so he's still fishing. He's captaining in the Welsh team on the international this week, I think, or it might be next week. But he specialises in stillwater bank fishing, and he's a wealth of knowledge. I was really, well, I wasn't sad. He had a kid, and you know, family comes first. That's why the videos stopped. But he made some outstanding quality videos that really gave people an insight into how to fish better, and he helped me along with my own sort of videography and stuff when we did do the collaborations. I have been tempted to tie flies professionally, as mine are that realistic when casting. They go straight into a tree, as you probably noticed when we were grayling fishing. Nigel, don't give up the day job, is what I would say. I've seen your fly box. Thanks very much, Michael. Right, I'm going to make a start to this fly, and then we will definitely come back to the comments, and I'll happily answer any more of your questions. I might need to go for another beer though. Okay, so what am I tying? Black pennel. Yeah, old gold. Does it still work? Of course it does. We just stop using flies. They don't stop working. So I'm going to get, as always, a bit of super glue on. And then I'll use the thread to spread it now. No I'm not. Sorry, I'm going to be using UTC in 170. I'll just get that started there. Now the reason I switched threads there is because the UTC flattens out really nice, which is ideal for the pennel. So I think a lot of the Fly Dressers Guild start out their new tyres with this fly, and I can see why. It's not particularly technical, but it's a very pleasing fly. I suppose this is probably where crunchers originated from. So the tail's golden pheasant, and what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to just pull just over half a dozen fibres. I'm going to pull them out to the side, and I'm going to pull them off the stem. Now you might have to just mess about a little bit with these just to get them all in line. Then dress it up, and I want the length of the shank of the hook. I'll lay that down there like so. So I've talked about YouTube. What's the future of the channel? Well, I know it's hard to believe, but I'm nearly 59-year-old. I'll be 59 this year, and I'm hoping to retire at 60 and do YouTube as a full-time occupation, if you like. Now, at the moment, I've got nowhere near I'm not making enough money to do that. But what I intend to do is to go down other avenues to start generating some income from the channel, which will make it possible for me to create content full time. And I suppose the dream, if you like, we've all got to have dreams, is to purchase a camper van. And my wife works from home, so it would be no bother for us to get into a van and wander around the country making videos of different fisheries. And I think that would be, well, it'd be a lot of fun for me. My wife would get to sit in beautiful places, because let's face it, a lot of these fisheries are in absolutely stunning locations. So it sounds like a great plan to me, but we'll see how that pans out. Now I'm going to come over with my wire rib. And I'm staying well back for the eye at the moment, because I don't want to crowd out the head like I did on that last fly. But it's quite difficult because there was quite a lot going on with that little cruncher. You're packing in a lot of stuff at the head of that fly. It's quite difficult to get a small neat thread head. I should have went on thinner nano silk, and I might do that when I tie up the rest of them. So that's looking not too bad. Again, it's a hen feather. I'll just grab one off what's left of my hen cape. You can see it's getting quite small now, like. But enough for this evening. Enough for this evening. So we'll just push that out the way, and I'll take away the waste here. So yeah, that's the dream. We'll see how it goes. It might work out. It might not. I might retire and just go quietly into the sunset. I'm just catching the tip of the feather. The other thing I'd like to do more of is foreign trips. You know, there's a wealth of fishing to be done in Europe. I do some trips to America, but again, as my wife's pointed out, that's where all the money's going. Getting there is the most costly thing. The Americans have got it proper sorted as far as fishing goes. Like, you pay your state license and you go and fish wherever you like, pretty much. So I've caught that feather in. I'm going to grab the stem here, and then once I've got my first turn over, just going to try and encourage the fibres back. So that's YouTube. Let's park that, unless anyone's got any burning questions about it. We'll park the YouTube stuff and we'll talk about the fly tying. So I've caught that feather in now. I'm going to get a couple of turns just behind the hook. I can let go of this. Damp down my thumb and forefinger. I'm going to sweep everything back. So when I was in the army, I'd done a little bit of soldiering, and then I became a tailor. Now, I was in a Highland regiment, and all the Highland regiments at the time had tailor shops, because we've got the kilts and all the rest of the ceremonial stuff going on. So I applied to become a tailor, and I spent the bulk of my army career doing that job, which was really good. But as you can imagine, being a tailor involves quite a lot of sewing hand sewing, machine sewing, whatever. And when it came to starting fly tying, my friend who introduced me to fly fishing said, "Oh, you'll be good at this." He'd been selected to go and represent the army at inter-services. And he said, "Oh, I need some of these flies tied." So he showed me how to do it, and I took to it like a duck to water. I really enjoyed it. I still find it really relaxing. Sadly, what I don't get now is the time to sit down and tie 20 or 30 flies, which would take me a couple of hours, but I really enjoy it. I enjoy the process. It's just relaxing. It's so relaxing tying flies. And what I often do is have YouTube on in the background and just sit and whittle up however many flies I'm going to do. But sadly, my time's filled up with a full-time job, a family, and trying to do videos in between all that. So just to open out the fibres, I've got this old toothbrush here, and I'm just going to push that out. Yeah, that keeps had it. Fibres are horrible on that. Still catch fish, I think. But there we go. There's the black pennel. So let me just. So Matthew, that was for Matthew Cooper. I hope you enjoyed that. It's not many people that ask for the old goldies nowadays, but there we go. So it's funny when I look at the screen, the fly looks terrible. I took my glasses off, mind you. Right, let's get back to the comments. Have a look at. I'd love to fish with you on Rutland off the bank. Eddie, if I go to Rutland, I'm generally going up there for 2 or 3 days. It used to be 2 hours. Now it's like 3 hours for me to get to Rutland. You know, with roadworks, speed cameras and whatnot. I just, if I go up, I've got to stay. I can't be doing the 1 dayers anymore. It just kills me. It's probably an age thing, but I've only fished the bank at Rutland a handful of times. Generally, I always get a boat. It's easier to get around places, especially if you're short on time. I'm in the team with Reese. 5th of March, we are fishing the International. Oh, well done, Tom. Best of luck. Got a top boy there. Keep the videos coming. I'll surely try. JS. How many of us have noticed fly fishing etiquette seems to not be taught today as it once was, or am I just being a tad unfair? Adam, I don't think you are. I think you're right. I think there's been a shift, and I don't know what that shift is. It used to be that people were pretty respectful, but I think now, I don't know, it's entitled, for want of a better word. It's kind of an entitled. Well, I'm entitled to go here, so I'm gonna. What really grips me is when somebody motors. Somebody sees you catching fish, and they motor up and they drop their anchor and go, "Well, I'm perfectly entitled to anchor here and catch fish," and it's not good etiquette. But worse than that, my pet peeve is bank anglers, and Rutland's one of the worst places. They use you as a fish finder. So they'll watch you drift into the bank, and if you get a couple of fish, you go round to redrift. The next thing, you got a gang of bank anglers there waving you away. You get away, you 70 metres or what, 100 metres, whatever. That's a pet peeve. And when I was younger, actually, I shouldn't even tell you this story, it's shocking. I beached a boat and had a toe-to-toe with a boy at Rutland once because he wasn't being very nice, and I was younger and stupider. But luckily, it didn't come to blows, and I don't think the police were called. So it all ended quite well. Yeah, Adam, sad times. It has changed. Watching from Scapa Flow, Orkney Isles. Faint. Orkney's on my to-do list. Me and Jock Kettles discussed going to Orkney and doing one of the KitKat Cup series videos up in Orkney. But I'll tell you what put us off was the wind. If you go to Orkney, and I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong, you can be really caught out with the weather, and if I only get like a minimal amount of time. The KitKat Cup is filmed over 3 consecutive days, so I travel up on the Thursday, stay at Jock's house. Friday morning we're at the first fishery, Saturday morning we're at the second fishery, and Sunday the KitKat Cup concludes, and then I drive home early hours Monday morning and I'm back at work, sort of thing. So it's a tight timetable when it comes to filming that sort of series of videos. So if you go to Orkney, we wouldn't have the time really to wait out the weather to get decent days to go fishing, and I think that's what kind of scuppered that whole plan in the end up. But when I'm retired, I'll have all the time in the world, and I'll just wait the wind out until I can get on these big lochs and enjoy the sport. I'm told the fishing up there's outstanding. Did you go to the BFFI? Never seen it so busy. Saturday the queue was back into the car park. Paul, I didn't go this year, and the reason for that was, and I'll be honest, I was just exhausted. So I'd done, along with my work, I'd done like the Farmoor Bash, then I'd done a video the week after, and I was just knackered. And I thought, for me, it would have been, I'd have to go up on the Saturday morning and come back on the Saturday night, and it was just too much. And I thought, I'll give it a miss this year, and I'll try and go next year. I mean, I really enjoyed filming it, but it's extremely difficult, and you might notice that I haven't done a BFFI video the last couple of years. So last year, Steve Cooper told me that they had someone else filming the event, although I've yet to see any kind of video about that. But anyway, I thought, oh, brilliant. So I just went last year as a punter, and I really enjoyed it. It was great. Loads of people came up and said they really enjoyed the videos, which was good. And I did manage to eventually get to the fly tyers hall, where I didn't have very much time, but I did see a few boys tying flies. I mean, some of the lads that are on Tyers Row, they're outstanding fly tyers, just amazing. The work they produce is phenomenal. And I'll one day, maybe when I grow up, I might start tying flies like that. But maybe next year. But I missed Scotland England last Saturday because I was at the Camper and Caravan show, and I was gutted about that because it probably was a fantastic game to watch live. It's ruined for you kind of when somebody tells you the score at the dinner table you're eating at. So if Scotland's not playing England on the Saturday, I might come up to the BFFI next year. Kevin, found a dead robin stuck in a customer's grill at work the other day. Any ideas to tie a nice pattern with it? A robin? You better make sure it's not diseased up and you've caught something, is what I would think, Kevin. No, there's not even much eating on a robin. Nah, you want to just bury that in the garden, teach your kids about death and stuff, you know. Brian, great to see you live again. What is your thoughts on fly fishing in Ireland? Well, Brian, I've been to Ireland a few times now, and it's hard not to fall in love with the place. It's not just the fishing, it's the people, the place. So I stayed for 2 weeks in a village called Innisteag. I don't know if you know it, but it's like postcard picture perfect. You know, the community is out of an evening, and I think it was the best village competition coming up, but all the people are out, they're sweeping the roads and they're picking all the litter up, and it was just amazing. And you go to everywhere we went in Ireland, it was so funny. We would go, so I went with a family holiday with a mother-in-law and tow the whole 9 yards, and we would go to places and they would go, how old's your daughter? My daughter's 16. They go, no, she's 12. And I'd be going, no, she's 16. No, she's 12. and then you would, you know, you couldn't pay full price anywhere because people would just go, oh no, just take the family ticket, and it was just brilliant. So I loved sort of the people, the places, and the food. The food was awesome. Really enjoyed that. But I was on holiday, so it was probably a combination of that. But the fishing itself, so I had, what was the name of the river? God, it was only last year. Obviously the Alzheimer's is kicking in. Nah, it's not coming to me. The river that flows by Innisteak. So I went, in fact, there's another thing. So I went to the corner shop and I said, I'd like to fish the river. How much is a day ticket? And the young girl behind the counter said, well, do you want a day ticket or do you want a week's ticket? I said, well, how much is a week? She said €18. I couldn't get my wallet out quick enough. I was up every morning before the family and I was on that river every day while I was staying there on holiday. I was about 1 minute's walk from the door. So loved it. And I've had several invites to come and fish the mayfly on the large lochs, and I've really got to do that. But again, it boils down to time, and once I'm retired, I'll definitely be making my way over there to take up some of those boys on their invitations. Right, recently went down the salmon fly rabbit hole. Chris, I've tied a few salmon flies and I enjoy it. It's great fun, but because I don't fish for salmon, I don't understand because, correct me if I'm wrong, salmon don't feed when they're in the river. So regardless of what you are throwing at them, they'll either eat it or they won't eat it, or, you know, I don't know. It's weird. So I tie them for like a fly tying exercise, and because I've got the hooks, and I bought all the stuff actually, tube fly stuff, kits, and I go down. I get down rabbit holes at times, so I'll sit and tie a load of tube flies or some doubles. But I've got some friends that salmon fish, so they never go to waste. I just stick them in an envelope and send them up to my pal. Matthew, do you sell your flies? Matthew, I don't. I just physically don't have the time. What I probably am going to do in the future is come up with a number of fly patterns and have them tied for sale. But I won't be tying them myself. I just couldn't do it. Not only that I couldn't do it time-wise, I don't want to do it. It would probably ruin fly tying for me, churning out 30-40 patterns at a time. Right beside the conning. Ah, very nice, Chris. Well done. Brian, fishing Grapham in September. That's a long wait, pal. You need to be getting up there in April. But Grapham in September, it can be really good. It can be tricky as well. So I think that top of the water stuff, definitely things like flat daddies, daddy long leg patterns, they'll serve you very well, and very small shrimp like patterns, hare's ears and stuff. So an ideal cast for me for Grapham in September would be something along the lines of flat daddy on the point, a daddy long legs on the top dropper, and maybe 2 size 14 hare's ears in the middle on a floating line, and I would be fairly confident that I'd get a few fish doing that. Matthew, if you PM me on Facebook, I'll send you the pennel if you like. In fact, I tied 2, so I'll send you both of them. There you go, 2 for 1. Right, let's have a look at another fly. Oh, here's one for the river, boys. Is there many river anglers on here tonight? So, this is a fly that's... So, I think some of the Welsh rivers will be opening up very early in March. And this is a fly that does quite well. Let me just get it in the vise. So, this is called the jingler. And, sorry, I'm just having a a drink of beer there. So the jingler is a fly. It came from Scotland, I believe, and it's extremely effective early season on the rivers. I don't know why, because it's massive and there's not much as big as this coming off, but there we go. Right, I'm just going to clear a bit of space. Please bear with me, folks, while I make some room for the next pile of stuff. I hope you're enjoying it so far. I know it's quite a lot of chat and not a lot of fly tying, but it's difficult to do. I'm not good enough to do both, is the bottom line. Right, what is missing from this picture? I know. It's my partridge. In fact, I'll show you. It's my partridge hackle. I forgot to take it out. As you can see, I could do with getting a new partridge cape as well. It's a bit worse for wear. So let's. So I'm tying these up for the river. I'm hoping to get to Wales early in March and try and get some river fishing done. I do really enjoy the river fishing. In fact, I probably, if something had to go, and nothing's going by the way, it would be the still water stuff. I think I would give that up before I gave up the river fishing. Now the problem with river fishing, as we all know, is you're really reliant on the weather. If it's raining heavy, the rivers come up, they get dirty, and they're not much fun. So it can be a challenge. So, sorry, I didn't mention the hook, did I? So it's a 130 barbless hook at size 10. It's a dry fly hook. Now, I would not use this on a still water because it wouldn't survive contact if you were fishing with a 7 or even a 6 weight rod. I think you would really struggle. So I'm going to catch in just behind the eye here and lay down a bed of tying thread. I'm going to snip that way, and for some reason I seem to have got the wrong ingredients out for this fly. I'm using some of Andrew's scruffy dubbing here, trout stalkers. Many of you might have known Andrew when he was making dubbing, but he's not working at the moment, which is a shame because people are always asking where I get these dubbins from, and sadly I've got to tell them that you can't get them anywhere because he just doesn't, he's not making them at the moment. But hopefully he will come back to it. He's a very talented man for sure. So I've got a fairly long dubbin rope here, and the reason for that is I'm going to come up the fly. I'm going to stop about 1/4 of an inch from the eye, and I'm going to come back down the fly. And that's worked out nice. Next thing I'm going to do, if I can find it, nope, it's disappeared off my bench. This will do. So I'm going to come in with a dubbing brush and scrape that out. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come back using my thread as a rib just to keep that dubbing into place. And that's looking pretty decent. Now, the first hackle that's going in is just this very cheap Chinese cape. It's kind of really dark ginger. I'm going to grab the feather here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to catch this in at the tip. I'm going to catch it quite near the base of the feather. So yeah, I've kind of lost my train of thought actually. So we were talking about fly tying and how relaxing it can be. And the trouble is, if you're anything like me, you cannot sit and tie 10 of the same flies. I just can't do it. I get to about 5 and then I've got to do something else. So, and that's how I do it now. So if I'm tying buzzers, I'll tie 5 and then I'll pick up the other project I'm working on. I'll tie 5 of them flies and then so on and so forth if I've got the time. And that kind of works for me. But yeah, I really take my hat off to the boys that can sit and knock out quite literally hundreds of flies the same pattern. So I'm going to come, the space I've left here, I'm going to come halfway up, and I can grab that, catch it into place. Thumb and forefinger licked, pull it all back, and then I can just pull that feather away. That's looking not too bad. Now, the real challenge for me now is to try and find a decent partridge feather out of this hackle, and it's not easy because they're a right mess. There's one there at the bottom. In fact, no, and what I'm after really is some of the darker feathers here at the top. You know, everyone will be different, but I like mine to be on the dark side. So I'm just cleaning the feather up a bit, and as you can see, I've got it here like that now. So this time I am going to catch it in with a tip. Now, just before I do that, just take note of the shape of the feather, yeah? So the bend's going around. Now I want, unlike a wet fly, where I would want the feather hackles sweeping back, I want it to be forward. So just bear that in mind as I try and find these bits and bobs of tools. So the fly tying, this is the thing. So you start, the reason I started tying flies was to get something very specific for competition fishing, and 35 years ago you could hardly buy a fly that wasn't falling to pieces as soon as you picked it up out of the box. I mean, nowadays they've got so much better, it's beyond belief. I was looking at some in shops, and the quality is just bang on really for a lot of them. But back in the day, you tied your own or you didn't get what you wanted. It was that simple. Now I know a lot of fly tyers that don't fly fish, and I know a lot of fly fishers that don't tie flies. So it's not just it is two different hobbies. I don't care what anyone says. I think they go together hand in hand, but they're definitely two different hobbies. So I'm going to grab the stock, and I'm not worried that I've caught a few of them fibres from the other hackle in the front. In fact, it's not a bad thing. This is not a neat fly. It's meant to be scruffy. It's meant to be big. It's meant to be awkward. And I think the idea is that when you swing it, it causes a bit of a skates across the top of the river, causing a bit of disturbance. And it brings up the bigger, hungry trout that have kind of not been hibernating, but they've been near the bottom of the river, waiting for something to come along to eat. And this really gets their attention. Now when I first tied this fly a few years ago now, a friend of mine, Steve Cullen, said that's far too neat. You need to scruff that right out and get rid of all that neatness. And so what I do now is once I've finished the fly, I get a toothbrush and just make a right mess of it at the front here. Now what I do with all my dry flies, in fact, I've got one here. Bear with me 2 secs. Oh, I've tied it up. So what I do with all my dry flies is I get them all in a little, it's like a saucer for want of a better word, and then I soak them in this stuff. This is Piscari Flies Dry X, and what it does is it makes them water repellent, and it really does make a difference. The flies last a lot longer, they float a lot longer, and that means you're not changing your flies as much and you're getting to fish a little bit more, or longer should I say. So there we go, there's the jingler. Yeah, not the prettiest fly in the world, but it does work. Now I've now got a table full of stuff that I don't want. Have I got anything? No. Let's go back to that. Right, let's have a wee looky. Next time I'm fishing is on the river Coquet. Sorry, I don't know where that is. Coquet? Coet, maybe? I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Sam Bridgewood, hi Lindsay, I have an Apex Vice, want to upgrade, any ideas? Great to see you again. Sam, it's like anything else, you know, I want to upgrade my car but I can't afford the Lamborghini, so I've gone for something that's just as functional, but probably Ford Galaxy. Can you compare that to a Lamborghini? Possibly not. I can thoroughly recommend the F&F Talon, mate. I've been very pleased with it. It's not a cheap vice, but it's certainly top quality. Really like using it. Kevin, there were a few flies hatching on the Tweed today. Oh, excellent. You down on the river already? Adam, I see you use a lot of Hanak hooks. Adam, I pretty much only use, well, no, that's not true. I do use other hooks other than Hanak, but it's very rare. Hanak produce a range of hooks. One that most of them are manufactured barbless unless you want barbed hooks. And I nearly 100% of the time fish barbless hooks. And I think Hanak hooks make as good a barbless hook as you'll find anywhere in the world. And that's why I use them. Matthew, what time are you on tonight? What time's it now? I thought I'd do an hour, but it's already 8:10. So we'll see how we go. Kevin, the new Hanak Jig Superb RS are great hooks. I take it you mean the one with the eyes inverted so that when you put beads on, they don't slip over the top. They're a game changer. Absolute game changer. I'm surprised Franta didn't bring them hooks out earlier because they really are fantastic. The 450, the Jig 450 is probably my favourite hook for fishing on rivers, and that includes straight shank hooks as well. It's just a superbly designed fishing hook. Adam, I use a lot of fooling mill hooks for my tying. I've used fooling mill hooks in the past, Adam, but what I find a lot with them is the gauge of the hook's just a little bit thicker than I would like. But solid, you're not going to get bent out much. Shouldn't that fly have a Coq de Leon tail? It should. In fact, what have I done with the Coq de Leon? I had the Coq de Leon out. I think I've dropped it. No. There it is. Nice spot there. Thanks for bringing it up and pointing it out to everyone. No, only kidding, Ben. You're right. It should have a coq de Leon tail or any other fibres that you want to put in the tail. But I usually put, when I'm not being a complete idiot, a coq de Leon tail in. Good evening, Doozer. Any chance you might be able to tie a cruncher tonight? Did you miss the start? You must have missed the start. Don't worry, I'm sure you'll catch it on replay. If you come to South Wales, as you said, give me a shout and we'll have a dram together on the water. You'll be very welcome. Brian, that's very kind, pal, but I would have to be driving home again, so it might not be the best idea. Thanks for your help on Ireland. Yeah, superb, great place to visit. I'm dithering whether to go back this year or not, to get the family to go back again. We all had such a great time. Oh, thanks. So it's pronounced Coquette in Northumberland. Coquette. I've never even heard of that. And you know, the thing is, I lived in Northumberland for about 4 years. I was up in Albemarle Barracks. It's where I started off my fly fishing journey, if you like. When Mr. Cullen gives advice, ignore at your peril. That's not always true, Michael, but yeah, fair play. Paul, I have a boat booked for opening day on Cluedo. 39 to the boat last year, 40 this year hopefully. They are absolute beasts up there. 7 more sleeps. You're very lucky, Paul. Cluedog's a fantastic place. And the boys, Russell and Gareth, they've just turned that place round. It's such a nice place to be. They've made it welcoming. The fishing's fantastic. I'm hoping to get up to Cluedo this year for a fish. I think Reese has promised me a day out up there, so we'll see how we get on. Ben, I bought the F&F Vice after watching your videos. Couldn't be happier with it. What's your favourite whisky? I'm an Aberlour fan myself. Oh, Ben, you've gone down the rabbit hole with the whiskies. Now, you know what? I don't have a favourite. I have phases, like flies. They have their time in the sun, and it's the same with whisky. So, for many years, I wouldn't touch peated whiskies. I thought it was vile, but a good friend of mine got me into it, and I think at the minute, whiskies I can afford, because I have tried whiskies that I can't afford. It's as simple as that, and there's not many people can, if I'm honest. But I suppose if my feet were to the fire, and I said, you've got to buy an affordable whiskey to drink, it would be Ardbeg 10. I think you can pick it up for 40 quid a bottle, which is reasonable. If my budget was slightly higher, I would say the Lagavulin Distillers Edition is quite high up on my list. I really enjoy that. But I do like most of them. I've tried some very cheap whiskey that was excellent, and I've tried some very expensive whiskey that was really poor. So it's a personal thing, I suppose. Everyone has different tastes. But yeah, I better get off the whiskey run myself. I've been at the Aberlour Distillery actually. It's excellent. I think I'll come away with a couple of bottles. That river meets the sea at Amble. Okay. Are you going to the Irish Spring Angling Fair? Owen, I am. I'm going to be there filming and hopefully make another fantastic video. The Southern Spring Angling Fair is one of the highlights of my year now. Between that and the grayling competitions, I really enjoy that. That and the Kit Kat Cup. I mean, that's my favourite because I get to go fishing with my old pal. So, but again, I don't know if it's an Irish thing, but the fair, and I've been to lots of different angling fairs over the years, but that one, people just seem to be dead friendly. That they can't be nice enough. It's a great atmosphere. And what really strikes me about it is what Ned does for the kids. You know, he fills a little pond full of fish, and then he gets some of the app guy instructors who all volunteer, they're not paid. They come along, and then people can bring their children up, and they have a wee go in this little, for want of a better word, it's a wee stocky pond. And the look on the children's faces, it's just heartwarming. So yeah, I'll be there again this year, and I'm really looking forward to it. What do you think of the new Fooling Mill videos with the build up to the fishing championships? It's definitely a game changer. Kevin, I mentioned that at the start of the stream that I've been following Howard and the team at the French Worlds, and I think the last one I watched was the one where Howard had to abseil down a sheer cliff face to reach his beat, which I found completely bizarre. And I think the French did a very good job, and they used the home advantage to their to its maximum extent. And that's what you do when you've got the home advantage. Just exactly the same as Scotland did when they had it in Scotland. You know, they got 4 loch events, or 3 loch events and 1 river event. So loch styling, regardless of what anyone thinks, I think Scotland, England, Ireland and Wales are the best loch stylers in the world, and I would argue with anyone else in the world that that's not the case. We are the best at that part of the sport. So if you have a world championships where you're going to put 4 of the venues on lochs, then it massively gives you an advantage as the home nation. And I think what France have done is exactly the same. They've picked venues that suits the French team. It's just tactics, isn't it? And but the videos, going back to the Fooling Mill videos, they're so well put together. It's when I watch them, it makes me think that's the kind of videos I want to make in the future. But obviously, they've got a team of guys there to sort of film the videos, and a bit of a budget, whereas I've got a 0 budget and I've got nobody else to help out really. So, but maybe one day I'll get there in the end. But really enjoying the series. Can't wait to see the next one. Where are we now? Yeah, I love the river, full of wild browns and big salmon. Yeah, the river fishing's... not just that, I think when you go river fishing, and if you do some travelling, so I've been to, well, several countries, but my all-time favourite, Slovenia. I just absolutely adore the place. And it's not just about the fishing, it's about, again, the people are lovely, the food's excellent. The only thing I would say now is it's not the cheap trip it once was. So, you know, I used to fly out to Slovenia, I don't know, getting on 20 years ago now, but used to fly out before they joined the European Union, and you could do it, the whole thing would come under £500 for your trip. Now you're looking at the wrong side of £1,000 for a long weekend in Slovenia fishing. But the fishing's fantastic. The scenery, I would argue, is up there. It's up there with the best in the world. Brian, any reply from the Freedom of Information? Brian, I've got to be honest, I've not done it, and I've not dropped it. I'm waiting to hear from a few different people that are involved in this, and when I've got information that I can share, I'll share it. And I think what's gone on there's an absolute travesty. And sorry, for those of you that don't know, Brian's referring to the video I made a couple of weeks ago about the death of international competition fishing in England. And it's a sad state of affairs. Without a doubt, I think competition angling has been, and I do want to talk about competition angling actually. I did have it on my notes to mention this, that you know, if guys don't get involved and we don't start getting youth involved in competition, then I think before I pop my clogs, I might see the actual death of competition fly fishing. And it's not competition fly fishing per se, because I've been to competitions that are really well subscribed, people really enjoy them, It's just the competitions that pertain to international teams. Because when I've done the whole international thing, and sadly it wasn't for Scotland. I lived in the south of England. There was no other options. If I wanted to do it, I had to go and fish for England, and I did want to just fish at that level, even for the short period of time that I did it. And when I stopped, it was not because Angling Trust came into power. It's because I had a young family, and that took priority over going away and practicing for a week to get through a qualifier. So it wasn't that, but I've always been a fan of the international fishing, and it really saddens me to see the state it is now in after 15 years of the Angling Trust. I used to think it would be a good thing, a governing body that had direct lines to government and be able to access funding streams. But currently, the world team, European team, the Lochstyle international team, the Stillwater Banks teams, if you're good enough to qualify, you're then having to go into fundraising to pay for representing your country at an international event, which I think is an absolute travesty. It really is poor, and hopefully something's done, but I don't know what the answers are. And as I said in the video, I'm past my sell-by date as regards to fishing them kind of competitions anymore. It just doesn't interest me, if I'm honest, because I think that inherently it's corrupt, and I think there's a lot of cheating goes on, and I just don't want to be involved. I don't want to have anything to do with it anymore. I'm happy enough turning up to the AMFCs, going fishing the grayling comps. I really enjoy them, and that's what I'll be sticking to. But don't worry, I've not dropped the matter. Ewan, thanks for all the content, Lindsay. Been watching for years and love the tying and the fishing. How you manage to upload twice a week is mental. I know. I wonder myself. It's a labour of love, Ewan. I love doing it, and there's nothing better than... I remember, this is funny actually, I'll tell you this, it's a funny story. So I was at Rutland, it was a couple of years ago now, and I was chatting to some friends before we were away to go out fishing, and this guy, he strode across the car park, and he looked like Jack Reacher, the guy on telly. He's massive, and he's boom, 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 boom. He's like, "Are you Lindsay Simpson?" And I was like, "Oh Christ, what do I say here? What do I say?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You kept me up all night with them bloody videos. They're brilliant." I was like, "Oh, whew, thanks very much. It's great. It's always nice when people come and say that they've enjoyed the videos, or they've got something out of the videos that's helped improve their fly tying or helped improve their fishing, and that's what keeps me going, really. It's certainly not the money." Mike, jinglers and grunters are great dry flies. I think the grunter's very good. I think that floats a lot better than the jingler. I've always found with the jingler, after you've been fishing with it for a while, you've got to change the fly out, because it fishes like a partridge in orange or a snipe in purple. It seems to sink in the water, really. And the idea is it stays on the surface, obviously. Andrew Gibson, on the Vice, listening to you prattle on in the background. What a life. Tying up the old Kamasunari killer. Kamasunari killer. Wild Browns love him. Keep up the videos, mate. Thanks very much, Andrew. I'm not sure about that fly, but I'll look it up after. Might see you there. Alright, well, hopefully if I get up there, you and I'll be there. Oh, sorry. Southern Irish Fly Fair. I can't keep up with the comments. Hi mate, can you dub zonker material without a dubbing spinner? Just getting into fly tying. Yeah, and I'll show you how to do it. See one of these? This is a fly clip. You don't need to buy a dubbing spinner. So what you do is you create yourself a dubbing loop, and you catch the loop in here and you just spin it up. Now it's not as efficient or effective as a dubbing spinner, but it's really cheap. You get them on eBay, you get about 30 for a fiver or something. So that's the way of getting around that. There's always more than one way to skin a cat with fly tying and fishing, for that matter. Oh, sorry, the chat's going a wee bit mental. Paul, I always fish my colour on the point and nymphs on droppers. Helps with turnover, having heavier fly on the point. Think you said you do the opposite. What are the pros and cons? So, Paul, to my mind, I do the opposite, but what I'll often do is I'll fish with 4 flies, 4 feet apart on a 22-foot leader. So I would have colour on the point, and I would have colour on the top dropper, and something drab in the middle like crunchers, cormorants. I really like cormorants in the middle, especially for a pooling team. But if I'm only fishing 3 flies, I would still have my colour on the top dropper. And the reason for that is any following fish that is going to be brought into the cast, and they are brought in by blobs, boobies, whatever it is you're fishing on your as your colour, they're brought in. Now when they come up, sometimes they'll take the colour, but if they don't take the colour, they'll very, very often turn and they will take the drabber pattern. So that's, Paul, that's how I see it, and I do okay. I've lost my place. Oh, there we go. Elliot. Lindsay, the season starts on the 14th of February till next February. I have some guest tickets for our club water if you are ever in the northwest. Our club would be honoured to have you. Oh, that's very kind, Elliot. I do get up the northwest. So one of my good friends, Del Spry, lives up just outside of Carlisle, and when I get up there, I tend to try and spend a bit of time with him fishing. Del's currently a member of both the European and the World squad, and every time I go out with him, I always pick something up or learn something new, which is always great. It's very rarely nowadays that I see anything new, so when I get the opportunity to fish with anglers of that class, I try and take it as much as I can. But if ever I get up for I did holiday in Cumbria a couple of years back, and sadly it did rain a lot, and the one day I got fishing, the river was high and coloured, and Del and I ended up in the pub, funnily enough, and we just shot the shit for an hour or two. But yeah, Cumbria's not the driest county in England, is it? But if I get up that way and I've got the capacity, I'd certainly love to take you up on your offer. Archie, you stay safe, pal. I'm loving the videos, Lindsay. Personally, I'm a young angler and the videos help a lot. Well, that's great, and that's primarily what they're for. I want people, especially young people, to give it a go. I mean, I know a lot of guys that they take it up, or they're brought up, their fathers have shown them how to fish, and then they discover beer, girls and all the rest of that carry on. But they sometimes, later in life, they will drift back to it, and that's why you get all these crusty old grey-haired guys that are still cutting about with fly rods at the minute. I'm only 15. One of the England lads referred me to join for competition fishing. It's too expensive and I just can't find the time or money to compete. And sadly, that is the case. Now, I don't want to start ranting here, but if you've got people, children, that want to get into fly fishing, competition fly fishing, they shouldn't be paying a penny. That's where, I think it's £35 to join the Angling Trust. It's £30 per qualifier. Why are children not being paid for? I just don't. I can't understand it. I'm not going to go on about that because it really makes my blood boil. Adam, I would like to have a go at a few more comps, but unfortunately, in reality, it's the cost of it. With hotels, food, beers, fuel, which can make it quite expensive. Adam, it's not quite expensive. It's extortionately expensive. I mean, I'm very, very lucky because of the nature of my job that I can still book myself into various accommodations which are next to free. I'm part of an organisation that helps me fish. And if I wasn't, I don't think you would find me in as many competitions as I currently do. I just couldn't afford it, and I'm not here pleading poverty. I've got a good job. My wife's got a good job for that matter. We're comfortable, but even I find competition fishing expensive. I've spoken to friends that come from Scotland, and they'll come for things like the Angling Water Invitational, for example, which is probably, in my humble opinion, the most prestigious loch style competition in the world. So forget all your international stuff, because a lot of the very best anglers have left that scene because of, well, what I've already mentioned, and they're now concentrating on these competitions. So the Airflow International, they come down, they'll have maybe 2 or 3 days practice, 2 days competition, and there'll be no change out of £1,000. That's just what the cost of it is. But they see that as it's like a week's holiday with fishing with friends and teammates, so it's worth it to them, and that's, there's a lot to be said for the camaraderie that's developed through competition fishing, and it can be great. Adam, the booby is the dry fly of the future. It's only dry. It is a dry fly actually until the DI7 takes it down at 7 inches a second. Mike Shaw, I think they are dyslexic. Should be a trust. Are unfortunately act more like truss, in my opinion. Yep. I don't know. Mick, I have just got no idea how we get out of the situation we are in at the minute as a competition facing organisation. I mean, I don't really know what they've done for angling as a whole across the board, but I have been in contact with other anglers from different disciplines in the course world, and they say it's no better. It's not much better. So there's obviously something fundamentally wrong. I know of people tell me that they do conservation work and they do this and they do that, and that's great. But if you want to get people into fishing, the way to do it is have successful teams. So if you've got the world championship team of fly fishing, youngsters pay attention to that. I mean, look at America. The big Bass Pro competitions are huge. I mean, they're absolutely massive. These guys are professional anglers. Some of them are multi-millionaires through fishing, but it's televised, they're sponsored to the yin yang, and youngsters want to go and do it. The last time I went to Michigan, I was fishing away, and nearly, in fact not nearly, every single angler I met was younger than me by a good margin. I'd bump into groups of teenagers that were fishing, fly fishing on the river, and it was just like, this is what we do at the weekend here. You know, we don't go to the pub, we don't sit on our phones. We come fishing, and I thought, wow, what a fantastic attitude. And this was like minus 16. You know, it's not like it's comfortable fishing, like going for bonefish in the Seychelles. They're in the water, there's snow on the ground, and they're fishing away, mad for it, which is fantastic to see. And I would love to see that in this country. I just don't see a way forward with the way we're set up. People own the land that the rivers run through, and they own the rights of access to that river, which means they own the river. And they want to make money out of it. And that's, well, is it fair enough? I don't know if it is fair enough. It's certainly keeping fly fishing hemmed in. Anyway, it's really sad. Let me move on. Fly fishing since you were 4. Don't worry, you'll get good one day. Kevin Robertson. Have you tried the Fish Brain app, Lindsay? It's got a good few benefits. Kevin, I've got to be honest, I've never heard of the Fish Brain app. I'll need to have a wee look up at that after I come off here. Adam, the beer is warm, but it's wet. Eddie, let's move off that subject now. It makes me furious. Tim, hello Tim, how are you? I seen all the photographs from your recent trip to Mexico. I was very jealous. To be fair, most anglers on the bank are a lot younger than you, pal. You're too kind, pal. But I've got a lot going for me. My knees are going, my back's going, my eyes are going. Cheers, mate. I'll try and give you a phone later in the week. Well, tomorrow actually, because it's Friday, and see how we get on. Eddie, that's how I started, but the older generation did support us and wanted us off the street. Yeah, I think, I mean, it's parents, you want the best for your kids, don't you? I mean, we've all done it. I've got two girls now, well, two young women, which, we paid for the piano lessons and all the rest of it, and you want the best for your kids, and if I'd had boys, I might have been lucky enough to press gang them into fly fishing a bit more than I have with my daughters, but how much could I physically do, financially do? I mean, yeah, it's tough. It's tough and it's sad. Paul, I fished for England loch style final, £600 total spent for practice, 2-day final, doesn't include cost of qualifying. The sport will become too elitist and therefore die. Youth can't afford. Paul, you'll get no argument for me. £600, that's a lot of money. I mean, that the way I always think about it is, what could I do with my family for £600? And I could probably take them to a show in London, and then that money's gone, innit? It's just gone. Everything's so expensive nowadays. But yeah, Paul, you have my sympathy. And you know, the guys that continue to support international angling, I really take my hat off to them. But you're right, eventually people will start to look at it and go, well, my family comes first, and if I'm not fishing for England, well, I'm not fishing for England. Tex, cheers from Finland. Time flies and waiting for summer. Oh, mate, it's been so wet here this week, it's been beyond belief. I can't wait for the spring to come. Aye, and I wished I was joking. My legs, eyes and back are going. My girls do fly fish as much as I can afford. Eddie, that's fantastic. It's my own fault. They were too young, and I probably expected too much from them, which it's a shame. Maybe one day they'll surprise me and say, "Oh, Dad, come on, show me how. Just remind me how to cast," because they can both cast a fly rod and they can both tie a fly. So who knows? Maybe the future's bright. I'm actually away this weekend, Eddie, on the Lash, funnily enough, with my good lady and some friends. So I'm looking forward to that. It'll be a bit of a break. Yeah, well, how much more money can you spend on fly tying, Michael? I'm waiting on stuff coming over from Brian Smith from America, but I don't know what's happened to it. I ordered it about a month ago, so I'll need to. He did send me a tracking number. I need to get onto that. But guys, it's unbelievably it's 20 to 9. I don't know where the time's gone, but I don't want to hold you up anymore. So I'll give you 5 minutes and just see if there's any more questions, and then we'll call it a night. I think I was going to tie another fly, but my fly tying bench is an absolute mess, and I don't know where anything is, but. I think it was going to be a cormorant. That would have just bored you anyway, wouldn't it? So, by the way, Eleanor does Good Days for £15 per child to teach them. That it's a start. It's what I would say, Eddie. But I know some fisheries that allow a child to come and fish for free with a paying adult, and I think that's the way to go. And what a great thing to do. As a fishery, if you're running a fishery and you want to encourage more customers, let the kids come along till they're 15, free. As long as their dad or their mum's there or a friend is taking them along and they're paying, they're not going to do massive damage to your fish stocks, I wouldn't think. Let them come for free. Get them hooked on fishing, and you'll have future customers for sure. No worries. Right, guys, I am going to call it a night. Thanks very much for your company, and hopefully I'll catch you the next live stream.